Welcome back to another Pinal's People episode. We are joining you from Maricopa City Hall with two guests, a husband and wife duo who have both served as mayor of Maricopa and have also served extensively in other roles around Pinal County. Our first guest is Mayor Nancy Smith, who was appointed to the role of mayor last year. We also have with us here today Tony Smith, who is the president and CEO of Pinal Partnership. Nancy, Tony, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to come on the show today.
Thank you for having us. It's our pleasure.
So to start off our conversation, I'd like to chat with you guys a little bit about what brought you to Maricopa, because this was in our upcoming issue of Copacetic Magazine, and I think it's a really remarkable and unique story that not a lot of people know. So I'd love if you could just share with us a little bit about, what inspired you guys to move out here to Maricopa.
Sure. I think we should share the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
you get started.
Sure, I'll do that. So we came before the city incorporated in July of 2003, and we came because we had a friend that actually architected the golf course at the Duke. And he said to us one night, "Hey, I think you ought to go check out this new city. It's not incorporated yet, but I think it's going to be spectacular. And I designed the golf course." So we're like, sure, let's go check that out. And Tony had to leave town, and I was like super interested after I heard this. So I took a drive out here during the day, and I was pretty impressed with what it could become. And I also liked the quietness of it, being that it's currently between two Indian communities. And I liked the fact that there was a good chance I was going to be able to see the night stars. And I also liked the intrigue with a brand new city starting up and what that could mean and what that could look like. And we also checked out the development that surrounded the Duke, and that looked really beautiful and pristine, and it just really created an interest in me. So when Tony got back, I said, "Hey, we need to go check this out together." And so we decided to do that. And then I'll turn it over to you, hon.
Okay, and at the time we lived in Chandler, and we both worked at the Motorola facility at Queen Creek and Price Road. And we were looking for something that was close. And at the time on 347, it was a 15-minute drive from that location to the city of Maricopa. Well, it's not a 15-minute drive any longer. It sometimes takes much longer. But we came, and a lot of the community was just developing, as Nancy said. Many of the main roads we have that we know main thoroughfares were gravel or even dirt at that time. And there were no facilities such as the parks. We didn't have those. We were unincorporated, and we were just beginning. And so it was quite a journey and kind of a leap of faith. And I think it worked out great. We were able to get involved in the community right off the bat, and I served on the first Planning and Zoning Commission, appointed by Mayor Anderson for that role. And it was got to see some of the early developments as they continued to grow. The first grocery store, Bash's, and then Fry's, and then more progression and more communities being developed. But again, most of the roads were gravel. Most of the places where there are homes today were alfalfa or cotton fields.
But to also follow up on that, we came, we liked Rancho, we checked into it, found a house that we liked, and then we thought, let's do one last thing. Let's come out here during the evening. Came out during the evening, saw all the beautiful sky, and said, let's do it. And so it's really been a trip. And just connecting with what Tony said, we call Maricopa the city of first. And it's not just the first, time Maricopa has become a city. It's also a city of first for people. I mean, no way did Tony and I have any idea that we would come out here and serve on P&Z, serve as the mayor, serve as city council member, serve in so many ways. It's just the opportunity for first time everything. first time for nonprofits, first time for anyone to find a place that they have a passion for to serve. And so it's developed into really a once in a lifetime place to live. We love it.
So, it's interesting. You both have been heavily involved in Maricopa. Nancy, you were the first female mayor of Maricopa. And then, Tony, you had served as mayor as well. And then also
Correct.
on the Board of Supervisors for
Right.
Pinal County. And then also Pinal Partnership as well, and your work with that. What's motivated you guys to be so heavily involved in these communities?
Well, I would say that we both have always had an interest in politics. But really, once you move here, and if you move here before the city's incorporated and you get to watch it from the beginning, you're like, wow, how can I become a part of this? And how do my skills play into this? And so for me, that's the answer in regards to why get involved. Just the fun and intrigue of seeing a city grow and possibly being a part of it. But we also started out being partners with the first couple nonprofits that started up. And so that was really intriguing as well. I'll let Tony take it from here.
I think it was really kind of goes back to who we are. It was acts of service. Nancy was a co-founder of the For Maricopa Food Bank. We saw a need right as the recession was hitting that a lot of folks didn't have money for food, and they were going through transition and losing their house, and it was a big need. And so she partnered with a couple others and co-founded the food bank. Other things that like we were able to live out our spirituality also. We're both spiritual people, and acts of service and being able to help people. A lot of folks don't understand that in politics or in political positions, you have a great opportunity to influence and to help others, whether it's providing food or help with housing. There's a multitude of ways in which you can help people. And so these opportunities for acts of service really gets to our core of who we are.
Yeah.
And so I think we really sometimes amaze ourselves as far as what these positions actually afford us as opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Tony and I were speaking about this a little bit outside, but of course cities like Maricopa and really across Pinal County, many municipalities, I can't say that word, have been impacted by the fact that the transportation plan didn't pass.
Correct. Exactly.
And I assume that's very much the case for
Yes.
communities like Maricopa
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll respond on that
Yeah.
because transportation is definitely my number one priority. And my message pretty quickly after Prop 469 failed to our residents is don't give up hope. We have other irons in the fire. Plus, I know Pinal County will come through with another plan. But our irons in the fire on 347 are that Riggs Road overpass is already funded, fully funded. It's in the design phase and will go out into construction bids in 2024. So yes, we're talking 2-3 years, but there's a timeline. It's in action. So please don't think that there's nothing happening on 347. Also, the final design of what needs to happen in full on 347 is currently underway. And that's because of legislation that we received last year from Representative Teresa Martinez, put a bill in and got approved. And so we received the funding for the design. That's huge because when that design is done, we will be ready to go out for bid and construction for 347 when we receive the funds. So I don't want people to say nothing is happening. There are things happening. And then you also have the Queen Creek overpass, which is actually part of ADOT, and it's part of the I-10 widening project. And my understanding is that Prop 400, not the one that just failed, but the previous one, included the funds for the Queen Creek overpass. Now, they may do some reshuffling in order to accommodate for their highest priorities, so we're left to see where that ends up. But there's still hope that the Queen Creek overpass, if both of those overpasses happen, then those will be very helpful for State Route 347 and keeping traffic moving. It won't be the end-all solution, but we're looking for the funding for 347 and the design will be done. So I don't want people to say, oh my gosh, Prop 469 failed. And by the way, I want to give props to the city of Maricopa. They voted, not unanimously, but
The vast majority.
a vast majority. It was well over 60%. There's a term for supermajority. They voted in a supermajority way, well over 60% to approve Prop 469. And so I give kudos to them because they heard the message from us and they acted appropriately. And so it's unfortunate that it didn't pass, but not all is lost. We have irons in the fire. City of Maricopa is moving in parallel on different projects for many different things, and we don't let one stone go unturned. We just had a meeting with ADOT regarding low-hanging fruit on State Route 347. And that means, how do we improve the safety factor? We gave them an example of 3 weeks in the November timeframe where there were 8 days where during busy traffic hours that 347 was shut down due to an accident. 2 loss of lives in separate incidences and thousands of hours, maybe not thousands, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but lots of hours where people were stuck on 347 for those 8 incidences. And that means, interestingly enough, 76% of our family leaves the city of Maricopa and goes into the East Valley for their jobs. And if they get stuck on 347 coming home, that means their families, their children, are left at the places they currently reside, whether it be their home, whether it be
Who
at a
fixes
sitter.
dinner?
Yeah, who fixes dinner.
Yeah.
And so this is a big impact on families. And I spoke about that at the last ADOT meeting, and it had a huge impact on the ADOT State Transportation Board members. They were impressed with the fact that they have to think about it in a different way when 76% of the families are impacted by their parents not being able to get home. So I'm working every avenue I possibly can work, and I've requested a meeting with the new State Transportation Board Director, and we're going to give her a little time to get in office and then go meet with her. And I've requested a meeting with our new governor. And I want to talk to her about transportation and the 347.
Yeah.
And so I'm after it. It's my top priority, and I'm not letting loose.
How has being mayor, transformed your vision for Maricopa? Has it? And if so, how? Could you explain a little bit of how that's happened for you?
Yeah, that's an easy answer. My vision is the same as it was as being a city council member. The only change is that now I'm having to go to all the meetings, and I say having to go to all the meetings that the mayor went to. I'm loving it. So being at the table at those ADOT meetings, being at the table for any important meeting that goes on with a developer within the city, being at the table for really any transportation meeting, any needs that the city has, that's fascinating to me. And I love being able to share and provide my input. So that's the biggest change, is that I get to be at the table, whereas when you serve as city council, you receive the information back from the mayor or the city manager, and it's much more fun to be at the table.
Yeah.
And so my vision hasn't changed. Being at the table is really a hoot, and I love it, and I love the challenge of having to strategically think when I'm at the table in regards to getting what the city needs. Yeah.
And we are partners.
Yes.
What a lot of folks don't realize is that I got a new role also. I'm the first gentleman of the city of Maricopa.
Yep. And he does that proudly.
Yeah.
He's so good at it.
And as a former mayor, I know a lot of that which she
Yes.
experiences when
Yes.
she's going into meetings and,
Yes.
and going into
Very
groups.
true.
And so I'm able to be there to assist and help.
Yeah.
And sometimes the conversations, I can either help or we can redirect, and we work still in partnership.
Yeah. He does. He has a great strategic mind. People saw that on the Pinal County Supervisor Board, and I love strategizing with him. We don't always agree. People think that, oh my gosh, they have too much power, but we don't always agree. We sometimes disagree, and that's okay for both of us. But I love having someone to bounce ideas off of and be strategic with, and it's hugely helpful. And in regards to him being first gentleman, I've had a couple of people ask me, was that a hit to his ego? And absolutely not, because he's so kind. When we're at an event and he's ahead of me, he'll find somebody he knows and he'll introduce me. Have you met the mayor of the Maricopa? This is Nancy Smith. And he's so kind to do that kind of thing. It's just really, really sweet. But
we run in similar spheres and associations, but yet my Pinal partnership takes me into sometimes a greater gulf of people and relationships. So those relationships are also important to the city of Maricopa, and so I can help facilitate or make those introductions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up Pinal Partnership and also the Pinal Board, Pinal County Board of Supervisors.
Right.
Because I wanted to ask you, of course you served as mayor, but what made you decide that you kind of wanted to take it a step beyond and go for Pinal County Board of Supervisors and then Pinal Partnership?
Well, I was very pleased when I was mayor, and again, going back to our profession in project management, in that those skill sets were so well matched to the role of a mayor. I didn't really think of city council as city council. I thought of them as my project team, and the staff, is an extension of that project team. So when you think in the minds of projects and projects teams, that's where I found a lot of success. And so taking that, realizing that the mayor's was a very important role, but I think that there's an opportunity to expand it to the greater county. And so that's why I chose to run for county supervisor. We were going from 3 supervisors to 5 supervisors because of growth. A new District 4, this was a district that stretched from the city of Maricopa to near Tucson and had about 10 separate communities and 2 Native American communities. So that was going to be, I thought, very interesting. But what I bring to the table and what I brought to the Pinal County Board of Supervisors, again, was strategic planning and thinking of things in a strategic way. So just like for the city of Maricopa with the first strategic plan, we worked with our Board of Supervisors to create a strategic plan, and we continued to operate off of that plan. We renewed it once, but that was a great roadmap for where we wanted to take the county. And some of that which you mentioned regarding the transition of the county all originated in the strategic plan. We changed from, again, a focus of agriculture, mining, and public safety, although public safety is very important, to realizing that almost everything we do has to do with economic development. And so we've helped our county get its fiscal house in order and be very financially healthy, but we really went heavy after economic development, and that's why we landed Lucid Motors, a Nikola facility, manufacturing facility, and many others. We kind of reached a spark point and ignited the economic development, and the Board of Supervisors during my time, I think, were key in making that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one last question for you both. Years from now, when you've both accomplished everything that you want to, and you've helped communities grow in the best way you can and the best way you think is appropriate for them, and you're ready to pass on the torch to the next generation of Pinal residents and leaders. What lesson or piece of advice would you pass on to them?
That's a really great question. I would say that the most important piece of information to pass on is for that person to understand you have to listen to all of the feedback, all of the information you get in order to make a decision. And that decision has to be yours, knowing that you're making it for the best interest of the city. And what I mean by that is you're going to be receiving feedback from residents. And residents will be on both sides of issues. Normally you're going to have residents on both sides. One side may be louder than the other, but that doesn't diminish the value of the feedback from the other side. You're going to receive information from your city staff. You're going to receive information from the state level, the federal level, experts that are in the best knowledge of what project you're looking to make a decision on. All of that information is extremely important, and you have to weigh it to make the best decision for the city. And I think that's the most important element that I could pass on. You know, sometimes sharing the information that you have with constituents is really valuable if they have a concern. But a lot of times it's hard to get the constituents to actually come in and listen to the information. When you say, yeah, let's have coffee, let's go have lunch, or let's come to my office, whatever the case may be, you can't get them to make that. But when they do show up, then they're like, I didn't know. And they may leave with that new knowledge saying, now I get it, or I still have a concern. And that's perfectly okay. I know that people aren't always going to agree. But the person that follows needs to make sure that they make the best decision for the city of Maricopa based on all the information and what's best for the city. Yeah, that would be what I would pass on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, mine's kind of similar, but it's from a different take. And it's be flexible and embrace change. When people come to the city of Maricopa, this is even a 5-year time period. I kind of kid people that have been here 5 years or more. I say, you achieved pioneer status, congratulations, because there's so much more that's going to happen to the city of Maricopa in growth and change and morphing into different phases. Once we get to 100,000 people, the city's going to change and it's going to take on a little bit different chemistry. Once you're 150 to 200,000, and these numbers are very achievable, maybe not in my lifetime, but in the next resident's lifetime. And so just continue to be flexible, embrace change, because that is what
That's good.
the city of Maricopa and Pinal County and our communities are all about. Little communities today of Eloy and Coolidge are receiving great things that are happening in those communities. And in 5-10 years, they're going to look much different than what they do today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nancy, Tony, thank you guys so much for joining us. On
Well,
Pinal's
thank you
People.
for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been fun. Those were great questions. I love that the community is going to be able to get that kind of information. And really, wherever you're exposed in terms of Pinal County, the state, I love it. I love it. Thanks for the great questions.